So again, hi everybody, thanks for coming to the Q&A for the kind of the second batch of posters. My name is Philip McDaniel and I'm a librarian here at UNC Chapel Hill, and we have the poster presenters are with us today. We've got Brian Nichols and Jenny Erdman from High Point University, and then Jordan Green and Emily Simmons, both from UNC. And Jordan and Emily each have separate posters. They're not a poster team, but yeah. So what we'll do, I think everybody should be, you'll be muted upon entry, but you all should have the ability to unmute yourselves. If not, please let me know. I messed that up in the last session, so I'll be happy to fix that this time around. But yeah, so if you feel more the session is being recorded, so if you feel more comfortable chatting questions to me or to Linda, who is the co-host, you can do that, and then we'll ask the group. But otherwise, we'll open this up, and anybody can just ask questions as they see fit, and you should have the ability to unmute. So with that, I'll open the floor, and if any of the presenters want to say anything about your posters that you didn't get to say in the recorded session that you provided, you can feel free to chime in with anything. So I'll keep an eye on the chat here.
Well, I'll start with a very general question for everybody. And I guess that would be slightly different for the High Point folks, but I'm wondering what findings did you come up with in doing your research for these posters, or in the High Point case, what new feature did you implement? That was the most surprising, either the most surprising findings or possibly the most surprising new feature implemented that was successful.
I guess I speak for us. We were doing appointment scheduling before COVID started, but maybe the most surprising thing was that it would actually take off more during COVID. We thought maybe people would just be in survival mode and not really interested in speaking with us. Once we integrated video conferencing into the appointment scheduling, something about that seemed to click, and we've had regular appointments ever since. So that was probably our kind of, I'm speaking for myself, Brian, sorry, but that was a big surprise, I would think.
Right, no, I would agree with that. And that definitely, I think just the inclusion of the video conferencing platforms sparked other ideas. Certainly, there's that one idea that I'm currently playing around with right now that kind of dovetails off that. But then I think also I think the dual monitors that we added have been surprisingly effective, and our patrons really seem to dig that because it's more, they're not just looking over your shoulder, they're not just, watching, you do it, but I mean, I guess they are watching you do it, but now the way we have it, it's a little bit more engaging. It's not just kind of look over your shoulder and then like take down some notes. It's right there in front of your face, like you're doing it. But I think that was the most surprising one for me. And I think that's definitely one that I would love to see continue to be used, certainly.
Yeah, and the most surprising thing that I found in my reading the literature about assessment of social media for libraries, as I said in the video, is just that there's such a lack of work in the literature of assessment for social media that wasn't just like, look at the numbers and do more of what like gets a lot of responses or like a lot of likes or reshares, that there just like wasn't anything besides that, really, like that like gave like specific like here's what we did that was more qualitative. So you can do it too. And maybe I just had bad search terms and couldn't find anything. But yeah, I was just like shocked that there wasn't very much of that sort of stuff out there.
Actually, if you don't mind, I had a quick question for Emily. Certainly, I was watching at the end of your video, and you were saying social media, we have to have more than just likes and comments and things like that for social media to really be effective. But could it be argued that comments themselves are a type of qualitative data? Would you be able to use that certainly in your findings, as well as along with your focus groups and things like that?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that because I think I only hear like comments talked about in like numbers of comments. But yeah, that's right. Like the actual content of the comments could definitely be used. And that would be like an easy way, definitely.
Yeah, like if someone has something really positive to say, or even something constructive to say about that, I love qualitative data, honestly, more than quantitative, just because you get more of a sense of where the user's coming from. And I just thought that piece was particularly interesting. But I think you too could also use the like actual comments as that qualitative data as well as everything that you talked about. So I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you. So how we've collaborated with faculty on materials that they're using, usually there's two tracks that we would do. One, we would try to see if we already had it in the collection in a print form, could we digitize portions of it? So we would try to digitize a chapter or two chapters. And we even did a thing where we would cycle digitized chapters onto the course management software so that we were not keep putting too much of a book onto that platform. So we would try to digitize things when we could. If it turned into a situation where we felt we needed to purchase it, the coordinator for circulation would contact me usually, because I coordinate the subject liaisons, and I would try to connect the liaison with their faculty member. Because usually with regular purchasing requests, the library liaison works with a faculty member to try to get the material that they need. Did I answer that question? Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's a question here for you, Jordan. It's from and it's asking about let me find the question, about the numbers for the 3D printing this semester in the makerspace.
Yeah, so my poster examined primarily the fall 2019 versus this past fall 2020. So far for this semester, it's for the first few weeks, like January, February, it was kind of off to a quiet start. And then this past end of February, beginning of March, we've gotten quite a few requests in. So yeah, a little bit different of a pattern from the fall semester, where it was a greater number of requests like in the initial weeks of August. So yeah, with the spring, we've had like a little bit of a slow start, and then it's been picking up now in late February, early March. To elaborate on that a little more, most of our recent requests have been like research related. So graduate researchers and postdocs working with labs and medical professionals doing research projects in, I can't remember the fields. I want to say like dentistry or surgery. So some pretty cool projects coming in there.
There's also a question here in the chat, and to you, Emily. It's says you mentioned being a trustworthy source while also not frustrating patrons on social media, and they were wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things going on here that I was trying to get at in a short amount of time. And part of that is like thinking about what's the point of having a social media accounts for libraries and like what you are trying to accomplish. And like what you, like us as like people running the accounts, like what we're trying to accomplish might be different than what our like users want from like our social media presence, and like thinking about how those align, and if they don't align, that might be frustrating for the patrons. And also thinking through like critiques that different social media accounts were getting over the summer, especially with like posting during some of the moments of unrest over the summer, and a lot of followers feeling like that was like disingenuous or like frustrating, and like how we can avoid doing that are some of the things I was thinking about by saying like not being frustrating. And then yeah, like back to like being a trustworthy source is, especially like as social media accounts of libraries, we I think want to present ourselves probably as like trustworthy, and a place people can go to get good information or access good information. Yeah, does that answer that question?
Does anybody who's lurking in the participant list, anybody have any other questions that they would like to ask out? And Emily, Amanda says thank you for answering the question. Thank you. You got it. Does anybody else have any questions for our presenters today? Yeah, and then Amanda, who just asked that question, she said that she doesn't even think she realized that we probably have very different end goals than our patrons do, and I think that's a good point. Coming at this from different directions.
Really quickly, hello everybody. I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute earlier. I'm at home working from home and I have an 8th grader who's in class right now. I had to relocate so that I can talk, but it's good to meet everybody here. Like I said, I was very interested in the shifting of digital course reserves. And I just have a follow-up question for Jenny if we have a few seconds. It's very short. I was wondering, you said you guys scanned things into, I believe you guys is LMS. We use Blackboard at A&T. Are you all doing that directly yourselves from the library, putting it into the course? Like, do you have access to you guys' MLS and putting it in there for a professor, like the Liaison? Or are you providing it to the professor and allowing them to use it as such, however they see fit?
That's a great question. We have Blackboard as well. So whenever we work with a faculty member, say to digitize the chapter or portion of a book, we're sending them a link. And then the faculty member can do with that link what they want to. They can put it on Blackboard the way that they want to. Same for ebooks. If what we did was we purchased an ebook version of their book. It's just making sure we get the catalog link to that ebook, and then the faculty member can do what they want. That's led to some really interesting conversations about making sure faculty know how to use links to our online content appropriately. You know what I mean? Like sometimes they might use the link that doesn't have the proxy. So it's been a really great educational opportunity to these ebooks that we've been sharing. But I guess to answer your question, we don't go into the faculty member's course. We send them the link to the content, and the faculty member embeds it into their course management tool.
That's great. That provides so much insight. Thank you so much. When you say we, are you meaning the liaison, or are you a designated person that does that?
I'm a little bit of both. So I coordinate the different liaisons, but I also liaise to a number of departments myself, English and a lot of the social sciences. So doing a bit of both.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Right. Well, there is, I guess we'll take one last question. Or maybe two last questions. Let's see. We're at time. We do have a 5-minute break before the next session starts, so we can run over just a little bit. And if you need to jump off, that's totally fine. But we have a question here from Therese, and she's wondering, has the information that for the presenters, has the information that you presented on today changed how you're doing your work this semester?
I think for me, the info that I presented today has made me like, having worked on that and knowing about that, like I'm trying to be more conscious of and use data and trends like that available through Access and through our LibInsight resources to like determine and shape future goals, particularly like with respect to creating and seeking out more digital resources.
Yeah, and I can follow up with that too. I think it's absolutely changed the way that we do our work, and I think it's a way that both Jenny and I want to see continue, because it's, we're thinking more and more about the digital landscape. We're thinking more and more how we reach out to faculty, to students. How can we continue to enhance our services to be even more viable, especially during times when, being digital has become more and more the norm. And I think, what we presented today, it's definitely some things that we've considered and that we're going to move forward with. And yeah, so I think it's changed our job tremendously in a good way, certainly.
Yeah, and quickly, yeah, this hasn't changed too much of what I do. Like it is just a proposal for an assessment, and we haven't put it into place at all, definitely. But I think it, at least has helped me be, think through like posts and engagement on social media a little bit. So in small ways, but not too huge yet.
Right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up now. The next sessions are getting ready to get started, and this meeting might time out here in a second. So if you lose me all of a sudden, that's what has happened. The Zoom is officially over. But thanks again to all the presenters, Brian, Jenny, Jordan, and Emily. And thanks everybody for attending the Q&A today and for checking out the posters. This video and the transcript will be provided after the conference. It's going to go through the cloud and do the processing, do what it does, and then we'll share that all afterwards and yeah, make that available. And again, thanks everybody for coming to the conference in this strange year we've been having. We continue to have. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.